Most of us first met Jamie-Lynn Sigler in New Jersey and some very intense family dinners on The Sopranos. These days, you might know her from her 2 podcasts, Not Today, Pal, with her Sopranos brother Robert Iler, which just wrapped, or from Messy, where she and Christina Applegate get real about friendship, life, and living with MS. But beyond the roles and the podcast, she's built a life and a voice that's entirely her own. In her memoir, And So It Is, she covers it all: heartache, love, loss, motherhood, illness, and what it really looks like to lean on your people and actually let them show up. It's honest, it's vulnerable, and it gets at something we're all figuring out: finding your voice, trusting yourself, and showing up for the people you love. This is one we can all find something to relate to. I'm Kelly Krause, and this is Told Y'all. Jamie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be here.
It means the world that you took time out of your very busy schedule as you're just getting into book promo. I'm sure your tour's coming up so soon.
Yeah, it's a lot. I've been working on the book essentially for 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
And so to have it be so close to being out, it's a mixed bag of, and I'm trying to sort of, walk this thin line of what the process was, what it gave me personally, all of the healing and growth that I was able to personally have from the experience. I recommend anyone, by the way, not even thinking about that you have to publish, write a book of your life.
Yeah.
The things that you get from it is just gold. But then also the expectation of a book and it coming out and it performing, because obviously people invested money. I have a publisher and, they want it to be successful, and I do too, but trying not to have the pressure of it to perform take anything away from what it gave me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just this really intense experience I've never had before. But I'm very excited to no longer have to hold all these stories alone.
I bet. Well, so we met right when you moved to Austin. I think it was 2021, 2022. Had lunch. You, Odie, and I. Odie coordinated the lunch, and it was lovely. And I remember we all dove really deep, really quick, but it was, a lunch. So it was just a couple hours.
Yeah.
And reading the book, which I have with me, it's beautiful, beautiful cover. Lovely. Christina took that photo. But reading the book, I was like, there's so much I did not know.
My own mother said that to me.
Wow. I mean, I was there were moments that I cried. There were moments that I was rooting for you. Like, hell yeah, she got her voice here. Here's the moment. There were moments that I thought were really special in you talking about The Sopranos, and went back and watched season 1 and was like, that's the moment she was talking about in that scene.
Oh, cool.
With James Gandolfini. That's so cool. That's cool the internet exists in the way it does now, or, media does, so we can go back and look. But it was a moment of wow, we may think we know somebody or know of somebody, but you sharing so vulnerably I was taken aback. I was like, wow, she's been through a lot. So for you to say that this has also been an experience in writing it, you've experienced so much from this book.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know what anybody's going through.
Right.
And I think that when you are a performer or a celebrity or whatever you want to call it, or identify as, things feel bigger. But what has been really beautiful is that the few people that have read it so far before it's come out have felt like they could relate. It's just a human story. Yes, I was on this giant show, and yes, I was out there and I had all this stuff going on behind the scenes, but that could be said for anybody, right? In their day-to-day life, and you don't know what's going on at home or going on in their head. And, it's really about giving that young version of me an opportunity to be seen and heard and given the love that she didn't open herself up to validate her feelings and the experience, but also have such appreciation for them too, because, you know, when you watch a film and you've got the lead character, you're rooting for them, right?
Yeah.
But you appreciate the ups and the downs and the trials and the tribulations and all that they have to go through to get to where they're going.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I'm still here. I have a lot more to learn and a lot more growth ahead of me. If I've learned anything, you never know what's down the pipeline. Because when I started writing this book was when my son got sick, which I open the book with. So I was already in the midst of writing this when he got sick, which obviously kind of reshaped a lot of it.
Had no idea. Okay.
But to kind of go through your life and look at yourself as the main character, you start to root for yourself and you forgive yourself. I have made so many bad choices that I have like beaten myself up about forever. And like now I can look back and be like, oh my gosh, I was just doing the best I could with what I had. And what that's now given me is the grace in the present moment of even if I flub or make a quote unquote mistake or like, I don't know. I don't know what I don't know.
Exactly.
And when I do, I'll move forward, you know?
And that's something that you talk about a lot on the podcast, on the Messy podcast, around like, I'm still figuring it out. I still revert back to old behaviors or, you know, thought processes. And I have to give myself that grace. Yeah.
Cause I think, you know, it's not like we ever fully change. It's like, I think, you know, that young girl that had the intense eating disorder or never thought she was good enough or, you know, felt like this small and her value was nothing and had to hide so many pieces of herself and wanted to people please. And like, she still lives inside of me. I've just learned to live with her and be like, okay, you're not in the driver's seat, but I love you. I understand that nasty voice in my head was just trying to keep me safe.
Yes.
You know, it wasn't trying to hurt me. And I think when we soften around all the parts of ourselves, we become whole. It's like not being like, I don't want to be this way. I'm not that girl anymore. No, I'm still that girl. I'm just learning how to live better with her.
What taught you that? Was that a therapist helping you through that or?
I mean, it's just experience, right? I mean, I talk in detail about the different moments of clarity that I had, whether it was, you know, something Jim Gandolfini told me or my dear friend Ryan who put me on my spiritual path, which
love that moment.
I really think like really when you understand like how untethered you can feel in life, having some foundation of faith, I don't care what it is so essential and necessary. And that's why I tattooed And So It Is, which is the title of my book, on my wrist, because it was a moment that I felt grounded. I felt like, okay, this feels good in my body, in my head, to my heart, to my mind. This makes me feel connected. This makes me feel safe. This makes me feel supported. Like, this is what's going to work for me.
Yeah.
But then look, I mean, I've gone off the tracks. It's to practice. It's a course correction. Like, and also having the grace to know that that's going to happen. Yeah. Right. Just last week, I had a moment where I was really frustrated with my body and really upset. And I have to give myself that space. I work with my therapist a lot on like, I've been a very like black and white thinker my whole life. And to live in the gray for anyone is super hard. Yes. And I've really, I want to live in this way where like I have hope and I believe like I could get better and like our thoughts create things. So you want to be careful about what you think and what you say. And like that can also feel a little bit of pressure. Yeah. But I also have to feel safe in being in the hard stuff and knowing that if I let myself go all the way into a feeling that's not good, like grief or sadness, I'll still be okay. Yeah. I'll come out of it. So I'm really still learning how to like let myself live in those moments and know that it's not defining anything per se, but allowing a process. Yes.
Isn't it wild too when you revert back to your older like feeling? Like I had a moment where my 13-year-old self was kind of coming up and it was like, oh, it's because I felt left out of something. Yeah. And okay, you're fine. You weren't actually left out. Like just that self-talk of helping yourself and reminding yourself that you're safe. Yeah. One thing my therapist always says is no matter what, just remember you won't let yourself fail. So no matter the feelings that you have, or if you're scared or you're nervous about something, you have so much love and respect for yourself that you won't let yourself
I love that.
really fail. So it's been helpful.
Yeah, I really like that.
I do too. I felt like through your book, you had so many teachers along the way with you. And so it was such a beautiful moment of self-reflection, but also I could clearly like see these humans who are your friends, your family, who were really like teaching you the foundation of what you needed in the moment, and also getting over that hump of maybe a tough time, like what you got from that.
But I didn't even necessarily know in the moment that that's what I was getting, right? But that's why, you know, they talk about in A Course in Miracles, which is the book that sort of really set me on my spiritual path, that all a miracle is a shift in perspective. And just knowing that like the circumstances don't have to be different, but the way I think about it does. Because pain in life is inevitable.
Yeah.
It's part of the human experience. You know, life is for learning and pain is part of that. And it's how a lot of the times we do learn. But the story we tell ourselves about the pain is where struggle comes. Yeah. And I was an expert at that. And so, yes, a lot of these teachers in my life and friends and angels have just allowed me to just slightly shift that, like make it a little more in focus, right? Like make my lens a little bit more in focus. And yeah, I think I've had enough painful experiences in my life. Yeah. And that's why I can sometimes look at them as gifts, and I have gratitude for them all, because they've allowed me to really get such a clear picture of life through those experiences, and has very much given me a sense of purpose and pride to be able to share the way that I can and the way that I do, because I deeply know and see anyone that's in their struggle with no judgment. Yeah. I just like, I see you, I get you, I got you. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to do alongside the other thing I do, which is acting, right? Where that's also where we get to show human experience and human stories and the raw moments that we feel so alone in. And it's, you know, it's teaching, it's acknowledging, it's all of the things. So it's just been really beautiful to be able to transmute all of that pain into a purpose.
Absolutely. So what made you say, like, I'm ready. I want to tell my story. Like, this is the time. This is the moment.
So I have been told for so many years, like, you should write a book. And I would get mad.
Really?
Oh my God.
Why mad?
Like, I don't want to. I don't know. I think for a while, I assumed that just talking about MS was the only thing anybody would want to hear from me. It almost kind of felt like my currency for a little bit. And my value, like, oh, Jamie has MS, which is, let's hear about what that's like for her. And yes, I'm happy to, but it was also what kept one of the things that and one of the reasons why I kept it a secret for so long was like, I don't want to be the girl with MS. Like, I don't want that to be how everybody identifies me. And so for whatever reason, I always thought a book was just going to be about that. And so I would just always put down the suggestion. And then I had a psychic, like, in my late 20s, early 30s. And anytime I went on a streak for a long time of just talking to any psychic.
Really?
Yes. Because the only thing I wanted to know was like, am I going to heal from MS, and like what's going to happen in my career? Like the two things I wanted to know. Yeah. And I would never really get the answer I wanted, or never really even get an answer. Yeah. But there was one guy in particular I remember were like heavily vetted, like, you got to talk to this guy. He's the best. I went to him with like my 2 questions, and he was like, nothing will change for you in your life until you write a book. And I was like,
really?
And he's like, and I see you hosting, which again, I was like, I'm an actor. I didn't even think about podcasting. This was like pre all of that kind of stuff. And so that's always been a little bit in the back of my head, but not where I was like, I'll write the book one day. I was like, I have a visceral, it's a no. And then when I started Messy with Christina Applegate, and I really started to just feel safe in my truth and feel safe just talking about the shitty parts of living with MS and just the messy parts of life, but also the things that I've learned and the things that are getting me through, and to be able to share in such a deep and vulnerable way. I got a call from the literary agent, one of the literary agents at my talent agency. And he was like, listen, I'm listening to you on Messy. I watched you on Good Morning America. You really seem really in your truth, like you're finding your authentic voice. Like, have you ever thought about writing a book?
Yeah.
And it was this like whole body, yeah. And then I was like, but wait, like, give me a minute. Let me sit in front of my laptop over the weekend and just see if there's what's inside of me. I think because I had such an aversion to it before, I was like, even though it was this full body yes, I was like, yeah, I'm not giving you 100% yet.
Yeah.
So that weekend I sat in front of my laptop and this letter to my younger self poured out of me. And it was just basically like, your life is nothing how you thought it would be, for better or worse. But like, what if I told you that this girl who you thought was a loser and a fraud and not good enough and who you didn't like, you love now and you care for and take care of and are proud of? I know. And like, even though she's living with a neurodegenerative disease, you know, like, you've got this, you know? And so that's where I was like, oh, that's my story. And this is what this book is going to be about, is for that girl.
Oh my God. I'm like, maybe we should start with all writing letters to our younger selves. That inner child work.
Just acknowledging what you've been through. Because you could have had the most well-meaning, loving, supportive family, which I did. All of the resources around you, yet you still, I mean, I'm wired this way. I came in this way. I also am a product of, I believe in ancestral trauma. I believe in all of the things that come before us are part of us and our families. And I wouldn't be surprised if, however the system works on the other side, where I was like, I'll take everyone's shit and you can give it to me in a physical disease so that it really is loud and clear that I've got to work through some stuff. Because even my mom, when she read the book, I was nervous for her to read the book. Yeah. I was really unsure what her response, her feelings would be. And the first thing she said to me was that she was proud of herself. And that was like,
so beautiful.
A gift I didn't even know would come out of this, because she's like, I did the best I could raising you with everything that I had. And isn't that what we're all trying to do? You know, so to be able to even just like give that gift to my mom, who's like 78 years old, and like we always think are like stuck in their ways, and like to see her soften around herself, like I feel like I'm doing the assignment I've been given, you know?
I loved the moments with your mom. The scenes, I almost read the book as like a movie, like the scenes with your mom and your grandma. I thought your family it was so, to me, beautiful. Your brothers, and, you know, obviously the story about losing one of your brothers, which was where I really lost it. But oh my gosh.
Yeah. And we also have peace around that too.
Yeah.
You know, my brother Adam, he passed when he was 41 years old, and obviously shifted a lot of things around us. I miss him every day. I think about all the things in my life that he would love, but I like to believe that he's experiencing, or maybe has a hand in some of it, you know, somewhere. But his story was what it was. And in kind of a way, like if I think back to the way he lived his life, so consciously, maybe he knew, because he really lived just day to day and very in the present. And it would frustrate us as his family, being like, you're not being responsible. You're not planning for the future. But like now we're like, oh, how do we live more like Adam did?
I love that. So you write the book and you're honest and truthful about everything. I feel like you put everything out on the table. But then I imagine that vulnerability comes with a potential hangover or like, what is that feeling afterwards of like, I put it all out there? Is it relief or is it?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
It's not scary at all to me, which sounds crazy. Probably reading the book and like knowing me, you're probably like shitting your pants that like everyone's going to know everything. I'm like, it's the opposite. And now I understand what that psychic was saying, where he was like, your life will change. Like my dear friend Rob, who was on Sopranos with me and is my very best friend in the world, just finished the book. And he called me last week and he was like, I feel like you finally know who you are.
I could, without even knowing you deeply like that, Jamie, I felt that at the very last page,
so nice.
last page of it. I mean, I know what it's like to share very vulnerably and really put yourself out on the table, not to the extent that you have, of course, for the world. I mean, the world gets access to you. And so to me, that's a lot. I can't imagine. I was even nervous about this podcast living on YouTube and having people, strangers, come in and have their own opinions and maybe comment on what I look like or hair, whatever, anything. But you know what,
I always with that kind of stuff, because obviously I was very sensitive to that, especially in my early career. I was so young and going through so many changes, and people were brutal.
I bet.
Late 90s, early aughts, like, I mean, I know we have like, we can call them like the internet trolls and whatever, but like people were like really rough back then, like to your face.
Yeah. Oh, to your face even.
Yeah. I mean, I had somebody call me on a radio and I think I wrote about it and be like, you're fat.
Yes.
Yeah. But I always go to the 4 agreements, the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's anything anybody has to say about you says it just has to do with them. You cannot take anything personal.
Totally.
And I've really gotten good at that. And I'm actually really proud of myself. Like because I know who I am, I know I operate to be the best person I can be. I know my intentions. I know that I strive to be a good wife and a good mom and a good friend every single day. And I'm not going to always get it right. But your opinion of me is not going to penetrate that.
Yes.
But that also comes with work and time and experience. I did not come in that way. That's just
fair. It's totally fair. It's something that I would absolutely preach to a friend and somebody else.
Sure.
And easier in practice.
Always.
To say, I don't really care what they say. It doesn't offend me, but
things will sting a little bit.
Absolutely.
But that's where I've learned I'm not going to sit alone in that.
Yeah.
That's where I'll call Odie.
Yeah.
Or that's where I'll call, or I'll talk to my husband and then, and then you get your friend being like, screw them, like whatever. And then you're like, and you feel a little bit better. It's really about like not sitting alone in your pain anymore.
Yes.
We are not meant to go through life alone.
No. Community over everything. And that's a through line in your book too. And leaning on community and letting your community help you. And especially when you needed it most with your son too.
Yeah. I mean, that was the most traumatic, most difficult thing that I've ever been through. And I would not have been able to go through it without my community.
No way. Absolutely no way.
I would not have been the mother that I needed to be, the person that I needed to be to advocate for him, myself, our family without that. And that also gave me a lot of pride of like, look at these relationships that I've nourished and have now like showing up for me. It moves me always to just think about, I've never felt more love in the hardest time of my life.
Yeah. Isn't it beautiful when they show up unconditionally?
I mean, our entire neighborhood, people I didn't even know, when we got home from the hospital with Bo, our house was covered in homemade signs that every kid in the neighborhood made for him.
I mean, that's y'all. And I also think that is like so Austin.
It's so
Austin.
It's so, I could not, it is so awesome.
Yeah.
You're exactly right.
It's special. It reminds me of growing up in the Midwest in Nebraska. That's how community was in Nebraska. You just show up for your people, no matter what.
Not a question.
And you don't keep receipts.
No.
It's just what you do. It's like it's ingrained. It's in your heart. You couldn't imagine it any other way.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it couldn't have been more grateful that we were here for so many reasons.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to talk about, you write the book, you decide it's time, you have, this amazing agent who gives you that support. And then the second you finish it, it's just a sigh of relief for you that you now have it out there.
Oh, with the book.
With the book. Yes, with the book.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could have worked on it forever. My editor literally was like, okay, I'm giving you 2 more days to tinker with it, and then it's mine. Cause I was just like, no, wait. And there were so many things that I had to take out. It was like way too long. It was like 500 pages.
Okay.
And then, you just have to sort of see what stories are moving things along, what might feel repetitive. One of the bigger notes that I got from my editor during it, because obviously I've never written anything before, is I really was like, I really want them to know what it's like to live in my mind. I really want the reader to understand like that voice in my head. And so like I was using that a lot. I was talking about the voice in my head and sort of narrating along with telling my story what the voice in my head was saying. And she was like, Jamie, I need you to go back through the entire book and pick 1 or 2 in each moment, because you have to trust your reader. They know. Yeah. They've gotten to know you. They're on this ride with you. You cannot bang it over their head. So it was such an important note of how to clean that up.
Yes.
But I didn't talk about, going to India and living at an ashram. I didn't talk about when I took ecstasy at my senior prom and showed up to my fitting the next day to Sopranos for the 2nd season. Like I didn't talk, because not that I didn't want to, I'm talking about it here, but it was just to keep the story moving along. And I really wanted to write the book like a movie. I wanted to build the tension. It's the way I know to storytell. I wanted to take you on a ride and shake your head at this girl and be like, why are you doing that? Why don't you see this, that? But also see the synchronicities in life. And that, one of the things that I got when I finished it too was like, that I'm taking with me is like, oh, God, however you want to call it, universe, whatever, will always put you in front of the same road until you're ready to take it. And that, knowing that has given me such relief and faith that like the right thing will always come to me when I'm ready. Yeah. I can see the road being placed in front of me many times, and I just wasn't the girl I needed to be yet to walk down it.
Was there anything that you specifically were like, I'm keeping this just for me and my family, and it won't make it into the book? And not for you to say what that is here, but were there moments where you're like, I'm gonna write about this and keep it for me?
Actually, not so much moments, but I would say I really was intentional with my words, particularly with certain people, because this book and this process was not about taking anyone down. And the last thing I wanted to do was ever hurt anyone in telling my story. Yeah. But there are things that were important to be talked about that some people might not like.
Yep. I know what you're talking about.
And I really wanted to offer as much grace as they deserved and as I wanted to, because I also see them as a human being, and I know that they have their perspective and their story. And I tried to make that really clear in the front of the book of like, this is my remembrance. Yeah. Like I've done a lot of work to really acknowledge my part in everything. But, I understand that this is my perspective, my lens of how things went down. And so I would say that I was just more careful about, and probably edited some things around that, because there was no villain in my story, right. And I didn't want there to be.
I didn't read it that way either.
Good. I'm
also,
glad.
you were so young, Jamie.
I know.
Like that moment you're talking about.
And I thought I wasn't. I thought I was supposed to be so grown up and know everything, but I was 20.
You were young. I mean, thank God cameras were not on me at 20. Thank God social media didn't exist the way it does now. Like it would have been it was a different time.
Yeah, it was a different time.
But you were so young. I didn't see any villains. I saw teachers. I saw moments that you were learning or you came out on the other side with just like a light bulb or a wake up of like, wait, this is not the life I want to live. Yeah. Or I can't do this anymore.
Yes.
Through various points.
Which we all need.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned Robert read the book. Has Christina read the book?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Has Cutter read the book?
Yes.
Okay.
He was the first person to read it.
Yeah.
Because I also wanted him to, make sure that I was representing him properly, that I was remembering everything accurately. I also talk about his family and his dad. So I really needed his opinion. His first reaction was, he's like, God, I think like every couple should like read a book about their partner. He's like, I just feel like now, even in moments like when I see you react in whatever way you're reacting, I understand why. Like, I know why she's sad. I know why she's happy. I know why she's frustrated. Like, he's like, I just feel like I have such an intimate view into your makeup and who you are. And the book is a love letter to him in so many ways, because I would not, have been able, especially over the last decade, been able to sit with all of these difficult things and process through them if I didn't have somebody with such unconditional love for me, of the messy Jamie, of the strong Jamie, all the versions of me he loves and accepts, and he's not going anywhere.
That's the dream.
It's the dream. And he is a gift in every which way. And I think we saved each other in a very intense moment, from the get-go. Yeah. And, his famous line to me always is, if I'm like, worried about work or this, he's like, your story isn't over yet. And that's our thing with each other all the time. In moments when we feel weak or whatever, be like, it ain't over.
I love that moment in the book where, Joe and Nick are kind of like, have you ever thought about him? Yeah. Because you take us through these different relationships and you finally, like, this one seemed to just be like, the word I guess I could describe as just like stable, but also just like even keeled.
Yeah. Like it's almost like he had like I have lovely things to say about all my exes. Yes. I had wonderful boyfriends. Yes. I really, really did, especially after my divorce. Like, the few men that I dated were like so also instrumental in my growth and my journey to self-love and acceptance. And I have such admiration for all of them. But it's like the best parts about, or the things that I took from each of those relationships and why I was so afraid to leave them and what they gave me, like Cutter had all of them.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I love that. The one scene, I keep calling it a scene, but the one scene that was so visual, there were two that were really visual for me. One was a Broadway show that you were doing where your co-star, you were sitting next to him and you turned to him to tell him that you have MS.
On stage.
In
the middle of a show.
Yes. And because you both had how many ever minutes together every time. First of all, I did not know you were on Broadway. Yeah. Or that you were a musician. I didn't know that you had so this for me was like a whole education about you, Jamie. But that scene was so beautiful. And every time you had somebody like pop up throughout the book like that for you, I was like, these are her teachers. These are her angels. But that 100%. Scene was so beautiful. Oh. And then the other one was right after your brother passed and you got the first sort of like wink from him.
Yeah, and when the guy gave me the lotion. I still have the bottle of lotion. It's empty, but it goes with me on every job I go. It sits in my trailer. I've literally squeezed like the last bit. It's purple. It's my favorite color.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just like, it just holds the energy of that moment of me just like knowing. It's very, is very intense. We just put our dog down a couple of days ago.
Sorry.
Who also, I had him for 16 years. And it's kind of, I was talking about it in therapy the next day, where it's like, he's walked me through so much life. And it's like these little soul babies, like, it's like they know when they're safe to leave. You know, it's like, I feel like it's this moment for me where he's like, you're good.
Yeah.
Like, you're putting this book out. Like, you've worked through all of that. Like, I'm ready to go. And with my brother, you know, being with his physical body when he passed, and it being so intense of a moment, and I wouldn't believe it if it wasn't for my mother right next to me, who, as a mother now myself, I cannot imagine.
Oh my gosh.
What it takes and the pain that it feels to have your child pass. But like, when we looked at the body, it was like, that's not him. That was just the shell, the vehicle that walked his soul around in this earth. But like, there was almost nothing connecting us to that physical body anymore, which is why we removed ourselves from the room so fast. And it was the same thing with my dog. Like, I was, you know, right there with him as he passed and holding him. And like, as soon as it was done, I was like, oh, this was just the little vehicle that Bean was riding in here. He's off running, I hope, somewhere in a field.
I love that kind of finality of like walking you through this up to this chapter of your story's not over. Like you guys say to each other, but that chapter, what? Oh,
yeah.
All the tears with you, Jamie. On a like lighthearted note, I know the podcast with Rob just ended and you still have Messy with Christina, but it's so fun. And I was listening to a few recently to kind of, you know, prepare for this. It's so fun because those two are just polar opposite shows in a lot of ways, but you're still like, you're very playful and fun. And like, you know, you and Rob very much have a brother-sister relationship. The episode, which listeners can go look up, but the one where he made a like montage of UTI for my
UTI.
Yeah.
Like, so Rob, one of the things that Rob jokes with me always about is like, whenever we would go to the Emmys and the in memoriam would come up, I'd cry immediately. And he'd be like, you don't even know these people. Like, why are you crying? I'm like, it's so sad. Like, in memoriams, they like touch me like so deeply. Like, I love to see people be celebrated. And so he made kind of like an in memoriam joke for the fact that I had a UTI with like all these like random celebrities and comics of just like, I'm so sorry, Jamie, like with this sad music. He's the best. And, you know, I really feel like podcasting was another really important thing in my life that like helped me get to know myself and feel comfortable in myself and using my voice and being my true Jamie that like only a few people, like my best friend Lance or whatever, like whatever would ever come out around. And so Rob, who's somebody that I'm so incredibly close to and so comfortable with, and he's so authentic and truthful that I'm always just like really like taking anything I can from him. And then he has whatever he takes from me. Like being in just doing that podcast with him for so long, I think really loosened me up.
I bet.
Yeah.
It's also just so refreshing to see somebody live their truth and be in their truth. And it's inspiring. Like, I want to say more. I want to I want to be more vulnerable.
Yeah. There's nothing to hide. And it's like, especially now, especially with like MS, like even when I approach work now, I didn't realize how much I was in the driver's seat of things in the way of like, you know, first I was hiding it. And then when I was public with it, I was like, no, but we'll work around it, right? I still want to look able-bodied. I still want to look normal. So like a couple of steps here, if you have somebody walk me, like nobody will see that I have a little limp or whatever. And now I'm in this place where I'm like, I'm not going to hide it. I just did this job, a dream job of mine, because it's like one of my favorite shows. And when I was talking to the director before, I was like, hey, I don't know if you know this, that I live with MS. He's like, yeah, I do know. I was like, listen, I walk with a limp. I, you know, sometimes have a cane here and there. I was like, I do my best work when I'm not having to hide it. So if you're cool with it, I was like, we don't have to talk about it. He's like, Jamie, walk how you want to walk, be how you want to be. I was like, oh, great. I never would have ever imagined that this is how I would be able to operate in the world. MS or not, I was always coming to the table hiding parts of myself, right?
To people please.
To people please.
To be that
so we
good
all
girl.
Can relate to that, right? We're not
absolutely.
Be hiding a physical disability or a disease, but like covering up parts of us. Like imagine if we just came being like, I'm sorry, I just had a really shitty day. Like I need a couple of minutes. I will show up. Like just even that, you just lighten the things that are within you. And then, by the way, when I went to go that job, I didn't need my cane. I was moving, I was walking because I was just comfortable in the skin that I'm in, accepting that this is my body, this is what I come with, and it's just so much more free. How wild to feel the most free I've ever felt in a body like this.
Ever. Years of hiding.
Yes.
And now you are so vulnerable, so yourself and unabashedly yourself too. I probably just butchered that word wrong.
Nope. Sounded good to me. I would have said it the same.
That's my beige flag. I make up words. Well, that podcast is so fun with Rob, and I'm bummed that it's over.
Oh, me too. Me too.
It was a hoot, but I also really
not enough people listen to it. I mean, that's the honest truth. Like we did so well with all the clips on social media. Because look, I get it. I think people love to see Meadow and AJ together, whatever. But we did have, because we had another podcast before that called Pajama Pants with our friend Cassim. And we had this like small but like mighty audience that like just like when people stop me in the street and they're like, I love Pajama Pants, I'm like, oh yes, like you know me, you get me. I'm like a nerd, like I love this. And even with Not Today Pal, but it's just, you know, podcast studios have to make money, we get it. It just wasn't enough. But Rob and I will figure out ways to work together.
I hope so. Your dynamic is hilarious. It's hysterical. I'm a newer listener and now found out the show was over. I was like, bummer. But you guys are great. I also thought the branding was really good. The little like New York subway, smart. It just like all worked for me.
No, we love everybody at YMH Studios. They really helped me. I think their social team and their producers really helped us figure out what the show was too. They're so talented over there.
Podcasting's hard. I mean, it's a
lot of work.
It's a lot of work. But the podcast with Christina is equally as lighthearted and fun and can be very serious at times too. And the one thing that I really took away from it on a recent episode was when you both were like, we don't really want to talk about MS today. I don't want to always be put in a box of MS. And it's kind of at this time when I imagine you're going to be asked about it more with the book coming out and your recent Grey's episode that you were casted for, which you were specifically casted, season 22 as a doctor who has MS. And so now it's like even more, you know, prevalent or not prevalent, but it's at the forefront for you. But I kind of wonder how you balance that.
So that episode came off the heels of right after Grey's had premiered. And it was like a lot of like talk about it, which was lovely. And I'm happy to, but it started to bring up these feelings like this feels like it's all I talk about now. And so I called Christina on the side and I was like, this is not like, I'm coming up against something right now. And I'm feeling like this is all I talk about. And it feels like all anybody wants to hear from me. And she was like, oh, great. Then let's not talk about it this episode. Let's talk about Bravo. Let's talk about other things. And she was such a great partner in that for me. And I really appreciated it. But what's kind of cool though, is obviously, yes, I talk about my whole journey with MS in this book. But anyone that I'm talking to, it's like not the first thing that they bring up. If anything, I remember when Odie finished it, she's like, I didn't even think about MS when I was reading it. It was like just about you. So I'm not concerned about this I'm happy to talk about it. And also it means something for people that have MS or other chronic illnesses. And I acknowledge that and I will never abandon that. Ever. But the truth of the matter is like true representation is just me living out in the world. Like, yes, acknowledge I have MS, but here's what I'm doing. I had a talk with a network executive where they were like, how best can we represent MS on screen? I was like, just cast people with it. Like, I am representation. It doesn't have to be a storyline. Could it add depth or layering to a character and her story? Of course, but it doesn't I don't talk about it in every conversation I have or every moment or every day, even every week of my life.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it's evolving, it's learning. And I'm I'm happy to take people on this ride with me and show them hopefully a path that they can take themselves of just owning this and accepting it and still moving forward with it.
Yeah. I just can't get over how many people that you've helped through that podcast, through Messy.
I hope so.
The questions that come in, the way that women and men, I'm sure, get really vulnerable with you all, or, parents whose kids have it. Like you two have been such a resource and have really helped people. So if anything, that's the outlet for you to really be that person.
Messy is such an important thing to me and part of my life, and I will not abandon. And I think it's like also, hopefully, as my career continues to move in the direction that it's been moving, because I've been putting myself out more again, I'll have the balance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Of being able to have that space to hold for what this experience is like, but then have other things that I'm doing out in the world.
Yeah. And to Odie's point, I didn't see this as a book about you having MS.
Yeah.
For me, it was like you just finding your voice and owning your voice and finding different ways to navigate life through all these, again, I keep using the word teachers, but through all these friends and people who really showed you a different way. And
sometimes we have to see ourselves through the people that love us eyes.
Yes. Completely agree.
It's sometimes they have to shake us and be like, no, Jamie, this is what we're seeing. This is what the world is experiencing from you, not that voice in your head.
Yeah. I would be remiss if I did not bring up Sopranos. Yeah. And it's funny because it came out in 99. Is that right? So I was a senior in high school, and it was right around the time I feel like Sex and the City came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like right when I was a freshman in college. And I don't even know if our family had HBO. We might not have been able to afford it at the time. And maybe I watched it through a friend in college. But I remember it was like you either watch Sex and the City or you watch Sopranos. And they may have been stacked back to back. One of my college roommates was Italian, and I think every Italian friend I've had along the way has said, my family was in the mob business. Yeah. they were there. So she would always watch it, and it would be on in the background. But I wasn't like a diehard Sopranos viewer, and I just started watching it before this interview, and I'm like, why did I skip out on this? This is...
it's always there for you.
It's always
when you
there.
Want to.
It's so good. But you playing Meadow and reading about Meadow in the book, I've just been reading online, and everyone talks about, what you brought to Meadow. But I'm so curious, like what she gave you.
Oh my God. She was an outlet for me to feel strong. She was an outlet for me who used her voice. She stood up for herself. She inserted herself. She was not apologetic. She was confident. She was everything I wasn't. And so playing Meadow was a dream. There was really not a lot for a while until other things in my life were sort of clouding the experience. Yeah. There was not a lot between me and her, like that would get in the way between me and her. Like I would just fall immediately into her because I would look at Jim and I like wanted him to be my dad. And I would look at Edie and like the moment where Tony and Carmela talk about getting divorced, my heart was broken. Like the lines were blurred between reality and not. And I just getting to play a character like that for so long, it's really just such a gift because yes, I was also a kid and a teen growing up, but to take her kind of being sort of like bratty and, know-it-all to this like deeply caring, aware human, but also having come up against a few experiences where she's just showing her loyalty and she's just, this is where I'm from and these are my people and I will not abandon that. She used her voice in the beginning of her frustrations or distaste or, judgments of it. But as life grew, she had her own acceptance around it. So to get to play that and that trajectory and that journey with her was just such a gift. I think for all of us, we all kind of had that individually in the show.
Yes. so there was 6 seasons. How is that 6 years or is that
10 years?
10 years.
It was 10 years. So we shot the pilot in 97. We started shooting the show in 98. And then there was 1 year where there was an 18-month hiatus. And then there's 6 seasons, but it's season 6A, 6B.
Right. I remember that.
Which also was almost a year in between each one.
Okay.
So I started the show when I was 16 and I wrapped it when I was 26.
How long does it take to film one episode or to shoot one episode?
So in the beginning, it was 7 or 8 days. By the end of it, it was 21.
Wow. One episode. Wild.
Yeah.
Is that pretty normal? I have no idea.
8 to 10 days is normal.
Okay.
21, I don't know what we were doing at the end of it. I think, honestly, they were trying to make the hours shorter. I mean, 14, 15-hour days, especially
it's so
on Jim,
long.
Who was in every scene
carrying
with
everything.
Endless dialogue, and not even that, but the emotional toll and the pride and the respect and the way that he worked was so intense and so, sacrificial on his part. Like he would work until 5 a.m. on a Saturday, and then on Sundays start having to work and learn all his lines for that week. He worked so hard.
He was in it.
He gave his whole self to that role, obviously.
I love how you talk about him in this book and how he could pick up on moments that you needed some coaching from him or otherwise, but also, like give it another take, do it this way, try it this way. Like
gentle, but always there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I couldn't get anything by him.
Yeah.
We had a very unique relationship, so special to me. But he just wasn't he wasn't pushy about it.
Mm-hmm.
He was so respectful. We had just a lot of exchange through eye contact, to be honest. Like, he's just one of those people that I had in my life that a little nod could go miles.
I mean, his oof at that one scene,
yes,
which everyone will read about. I could hear it. I feel like I could just hear it.
He didn't let a moment, he couldn't let that awkwardness go by without explaining to me basically what it meant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In his perfect Jim way.
Yeah. Did you take any, do you have any memorabilia or anything from the set? Did you take anything?
So he actually got me for the very first Christmas that we were all around each other, a velvet Prada little makeup case, and I still have it. It's all weathered and yellowed now. I have a pair of boots that Meadow wore. I have the back of my director's chair. Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
What about anything from Meadow herself? Meadow as a character, did you take anything from her?
I think her loyalty and her acceptance of where she came from and love for where she came of family.
It's just wild to me to read this book and know that you were playing that character during moments where life was really, really a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
Just wow.
Yeah.
I can't imagine if I would dissociate and just go straight into, that role, or if it would carry into it. I mean,
and I can't tell you moment to moment what that, I'm sure there were moments where I dissociated. There were moments where I was I talk candidly about moments where I was not my best and was not bringing my best, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I had such a block. I had such a, Edie Falco was one of the first people to read my book. And she called me the next day. She read it in one night. And she's just like, I just wish I could hug little you right now and just tell her that she wasn't alone. She's like, it just broke my heart to just have not seen what you were going through and known, because my God, we all would have shown up so differently for you.
Yep.
And I told her, but that's no one's fault. That was me. That was how I decided to go through the experience. But it's all good in the end, but also she's like, but we all were going through, she was going through cancer for much of that time, and we didn't know about it, that she was battling breast cancer. and lost her hair and was wearing a wig. We were on a photo shoot one day and she came up to me and said, I just want you to know that I've been battling cancer. I'm okay now, but this is a wig. And I had no idea we did an entire season like that.
You just never know.
And in that moment, I remember wanting to tell her about myself, but I just couldn't. Like I wanted to be like, oh, well, I have a disease. And like, I wasn't ready. But that is also, what comes, like we're so all intensely trauma bonded and, and bonded in all the ways because of that experience. Like no one will ever be able to understand what each of us understands about what it was like to go on that ride together.
I bet. I mean, but to your point, we never know what anybody else is going through.
Yeah.
So just lead with kindness.
That's it. And just
acceptance.
Or ask.
Yeah.
If somebody's acting a certain way, like before you judge, before you react, look, or maybe after you react, after you judge. We're human. Yeah. I get it. I also don't want to judge for just having like a reaction. But like, I would invite you to ask, what's the worst that could happen? They don't want to talk about it. But my God, if somebody had asked me, just knowing that an invitation could have been there, who knows how things
that one
would have been
director,
different.
right? Who asked if you knew. I don't think he asked if you had it, but asked if you knew who Terry was, right?
Yes, Terry Garr, because he was saying, I know something's up with you. And I once worked with Terry Garr when she was first diagnosed with MS, and this is how we worked around it. But I was just, everything was a threat to me at that point.
Yes.
Everything. I did not see it as a beautiful olive branch or a moment where I could have been like, I have it. I'm so scared. Can you help me? Which is exactly how I would approach anything now. Yeah. Like, this is what I'm feeling inside. I don't want to hold this in anymore. Yeah. But I still was so conditioned to white knuckle, to brace, to just, I have to go through this alone. And, that's one of the things that Cutter tells me a lot is like, part of the reason why he's such a wonderful caregiver is because he's wired that way, but also he's like, knowing what you had been through, I just didn't want you to go through it alone anymore. Like, it's just like you did so much. I mean, for my parents, it was hard for my dad, after he read it, he was just like, I hate that I didn't know what my daughter was going through.
He did
right in front of my face. But I was like, how could you have?
Yes.
It's not your fault.
Our parents. I have so much grace for our parents.
Oh, yes.
First timers, and we give them so much help.
I do it for myself now. I'm like, I've never done this before. It's always, my friend Ryan tells me always, it's always it's not about the rip. It's about the repair.
Yes.
And that's where real growth happens.
Agreed.
I have walked in front of my kids hundreds of times and been like, I was not my best just before. And I lost my patience, and that's not on you. I've got my own stuff going on, but like, I should not talk to you that way. I should have approached that differently. And now what I see my kids, even with each other or to me, like, hey mom, I'm sorry I overreacted. It's just like, God, how beautiful to just like accept our humanness and apologize. Like, it feels so good. I always tell them, like, who's going to come at you after you apologize? Who's going to come at you being vulnerable?
No,
like
nobody.
You'll completely disarms an entire situation.
Oh man, if I had that language growing up, life would have been so much kinder and easier, and I wouldn't have been hard on myself for having outbursts because I didn't know how to manage my big feelings that I had, and like, just to say, sorry, I blew up because I wasn't feeling seen as a 10-year-old.
Yes. Yes.
Which we haven't even touched on motherhood. And I know we're getting up to the very end, but I want to say what you experienced with Bo and what that taught you about community and fighting for your son and using your voice in a way that you hadn't for yourself was touching and so beautiful. Thank you. I'm happy to hear he's doing okay.
He is. It hasn't been the easiest road. He's been through a lot of changes, as anyone would be with the experience that he had. And there's been a lot of needing grace and acceptance around that, including for myself. But he's my hero the way that he sees the world, the way that he walks into a room. I don't think there's a week that goes by that I don't get a random text or comment from someone that's like, you're a kid. And he's just, he had a near-death experience. Him and I had never talked about them before, so there was no influence as far as I knew. So this was a pure thing that he came out of this with, and he has such a deep appreciation. He has such faith. He tells me all the time he's convinced that I'm going to run again and that that's going to be something we're going to do together one day. And even if I don't, just seeing the love that he brings to every moment of his life, it's like I have a teacher in front of me every single day.
So inspiring. And he's how old?
He's 12 now.
12? Mm-hmm. And he's your little teacher.
You got to meet him. You'll know what I mean. Like, he'll walk right up to you, look at you, and I'm like, I'm Bo. What's your name? He'll remember everything about you.
Really?
Yeah. It's like sometimes actually when I watch my favorite show on television, Love on the Spectrum.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right. And just the purity in which they take in the world and the things that they focus on, like that's kind of Bo. It's almost like it like threw him on the spectrum in a way of just like, I'm like, oh my God. Like I almost like be like, give me those glasses. Like, how are you seeing this? But it's just, it's amazing. I think it's shaping his little brother in ways. It's healed our whole family.
It's your family, right? Of course. Do both the boys play baseball?
They do.
So it's wild to me. And I'm sure others have made this through line, including yourself, but like your dad used to.
I know.
Your dad was like very involved in the baseball community. And then you end up meeting Cutter. And I'm like, it wasn't necessarily, dots were not connected in the book, but I'm like, I feel like this was kismet for her.
Correct. It was in the stars for sure.
Wild.
Baseball is just part of my life.
Jamie, I want to end it on a few questions before we wrap here. They're quicker ones. So there's a quote that you kick the book off, which is, soul work is not a high road. It's a deep fall into an unforgiving darkness that won't let you go until you find the song that sings you home. So what was that song for you singing you home?
Great question. Like a literal song? Like thinking
whatever
of a literal song?
Whatever it was for you. Like what was that like moment that like sung you home?
I think it was releasing the shame. Mm-hmm. Knowing that I had nothing to apologize for.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't going to disappoint anyone with being who I just really am, and just really like letting that sort of be the soundtrack and the background music of just being like, you have nothing to apologize for. Like you didn't do it. You're not a bad girl.
Yeah.
Like you're not all these things that I told myself, but I had to sit in that darkness. I had to face all of that stuff really intensely to be able to, leave it all behind.
Yep. I love that, Jamie. You're in Austin now.
Yeah.
So it's been like what, 4 years?
5
years. Okay. Does your family have any favorite spots, any favorite places?
Gosh, I love lake life.
Yeah.
I never knew lake life as coming from Long Island. I'm all about it. Anytime we can get on the water, it's the best, or eat on the water. That cute little restaurant, Quince. Is that how you pronounce it?
Oh, I've never been, but I know you're talking
cute.
about. Yes.
It's like just right, literally on the water.
Yeah.
I love all the people here.
Aren't they great?
So much. I just love them so much. I love barbecue. I love South Congress.
Yep.
It's just, I feel like there's so much that Austin has to offer, like whatever you're in the mood for.
Yeah, there's a lot. You can't get bored here.
No,
it's
the
impossible.
Comedy scene. I love being around funny people. So like all the comics that are here, the music scene, it's all so
100%. You're funny, Jamie. I'm like, if people don't know you from the podcast, sweet. I'm like, you are hilarious. Like you have very big hot takes on things that I'm like, I would have never known. More of that, please. I love, and I see more on Not Today, Pals. So go into the archives, but your hot takes back and forth.
I know sometimes Rob would be, whenever I could shock Rob with like what I say, I'd always be like, oh wow, that was not, no one was expecting that one from me.
Y'all had me on the trail today with your dating episode talking about using a gift card on a date. And I'm like, what would I think of that? I'm like, I'm with Jamie. It would just like, my antenna would go up, but I don't know why. Anyway, I just...
I don't know. I mean, like, what I loved most about that podcast is like the things that Rob would make me think about that I would have never thought about otherwise.
Yes. What does "and so it is" mean to you today?
And so it is acceptance to me today. At one point, it was like, this is it. This is what it is. And then at another point, it was the affirmation at the end of the prayer, of the flare you're putting out into the universe of like, I deserve this. And when I put flares out, I'm specific in like what I want to, people can call manifest, pray, ask for, but it's not even about the thing. It's the feeling that thing would give me. Yeah. So it's more about like, I know that this is the energy, the feeling that my soul wants, whatever way you want to give it to me, but I deserve it. I want it. It's meant for me. God would not put a calling in my heart if it wasn't for me. So for a while, and still is in very many ways, that for me, but more than anything, it's just the trust and faith and gratitude I have for my life.
I love that. And my last question is, what do you want your legacy to be?
I think just that someone who learned to, gosh, that's such a, like, I have such an easy time answering all your questions with this one. What's my legacy? To just always take people in as they are, and know that you're not alone.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. This book was beautiful.
Thank you.
It touched
that means
me
so much to me.
Oh my gosh. I read it in 2 days and it touched me in a way I was not expecting. I saw a lot of similar moments, from an eating disorder to just relationship behavior to acceptance to owning my voice to vulnerability to thinking, wow, I had all these people to help and I didn't let them in, and so many moments. I feel like there's not a person that's going to pick this up that cannot find something to relate to.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad to hear that, because that was my biggest dream with this book. And it's kind of, I end the book literally saying like, I hope this story is now yours, because my biggest dream is for someone to finish this book. You don't have to think about me forever. Like, but just think about yourself as me, and like, take the way that you, whoever felt for me, compassion, whatever it is, and give it to yourself. Yeah. Because you deserve it. It was my biggest dream. So I'm so glad to hear that you were able to take that in that way.
Absolutely. I understand why people choose to keep things personal and close to their chest. And I also know, on the flip side, to see yourself in somebody else, or to know that you're not alone in some of these moments, really does make you feel more human and less alone. And just like breathing a sigh of relief of like, okay, this is, other people are experiencing this too. It's not just me.
That's what I want my legacy to be. I want everybody to acknowledge the innocence within them.
Yeah. Beautiful. Well said.
Yeah.
Jamie, thank you so much. When does And So It Is come out?
May 5th.
May 5th.
5.
And you can get at any bookstore.
There's audiobook, any bookstore, any way that you take books, it'll be available.
Oh, audiobook.
Yeah,
nice.
that was an awesome experience too.
I bet. Yeah. Christina gave you some advice on doing your audiobook, right?
Yes, she did. Primarily, like, I had to take a day off in between, because you know what, you don't realize, like, you never like talk that much. I lost my voice after 2 days, so I had to like take a day off in between. But the director who I work with, she told me, she's like, tell your story as if you're talking to your best friend's aunt.
Oh.
So someone you trust, somebody that's like close adjacent, but like not somebody that you could like be on the verge of tears with.
Yeah.
Because I could have cried through but it was one thing to write it, but to say it out loud was a very final, like, I felt like I put like the last piece down. Do you know what I mean? Like
totally.
I took the last weight off my back, whatever it was, of just like.
I think that would be a very beautiful way to consume this book. Is
I
by
hope
audiobook.
so.
Truly.
I hope
so any bookstore, audiobook,
Yes.
and then Jamie is on Instagram at
Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
Jamie-Lynn Sigler and Messy
Podcast.
Messy
yes,
Podcast.
anywhere you get podcasts.
Awesome. Jamie, thank you so much for coming on.
This was so fun.
I can't wait for everyone to read this.
Thank you.
So pumped.